By the end of this video, you're gonna know how to create videos exactly like MrBeast.
Get to work and start uploading.
Using only CapCut. Even though Jimmy says this.
The only downside is a lot of people copy my every move.
And in the process, you'll get a masterclass in using CapCut.
100%.
I'm gonna recreate shot for shot the first 30 seconds of this MrBeast video using CapCut PC. It's on a Mac, but exactly the same thing. First thing I'm gonna do is import our footage. I shot a bunch of stuff on my Sony, and I put it right here so I could find it. Bam. All you do is hit import. Piece of cake. Now you can look at the footage here in this one. You can just double click here and you can hit play and see the footage. And I can use these guys to scrub through it and try to find what I'm looking for. But I find it's easier to just put all the footage in order in the timeline and edit it there. You have more precision control. So I'm just going to click on this first one, hold down the Shift key, click on the last one, and drag them all to the timeline. There's almost always more than one way to do something in CapCut. For example, to show more or less of the timeline, you can jump up here and zoom out or zoom in. If you want to see the entire timeline, you can use a keystroke that actually also works in Adobe Premiere, which is Shift-Z, and then it shows you pretty much the entire timeline there. I use that all day, every day.
Hey, you should subscribe right now.
You can also use Command minus and plus on a Mac, or Control minus and plus on a PC to zoom in and out on the timeline. But my favorite way to zoom in and out on the timeline is to hold down the Command key on a Mac, Control key on a PC, and just hit the scroll wheel on my mouse, this guy right here. And when I scroll my mouse, I have precision control like this. So that's what I mostly do. I'm gonna quickly show an advanced feature CapCut has that you maybe didn't know could do. I shot this on my Sony using a flat profile. Notice how all this footage looks really flat. There's minimal color. That's intentional, but we can fix that by adding a LUT to the footage. LUT stands for lookup table. A LUT is just data to change the color properties of footage. To apply a LUT using CapCut, you just click on Adjustment, and here it says Custom Adjustment. Whoa, you can add adjustment layers. An adjustment layer you just drag down to the timeline, and you stretch it out to cover all of your footage, and anything I do to this adjustment layer will affect the footage below it. For example, I can go to this panel over here, scroll down, and I can change the color temperature of this footage. Whoa. And notice if I make it all super blue, it changes all of it to super blue. I don't really want to do that with this footage. I want to use a LUT that I've imported into here that actually works good with my footage, and then it adjusts all of it and makes it kind of perfect looking for me. It's this one here. I click on it, and bam, now all of this footage looks great. It's got good color going on. If you don't want to tweak all the footage, you want to tweak one clip at a time, you can just delete that LUT, select all of the footage, go back up here to Adjustment, and choose the LUT like this, and now it applied the LUT individually to each one of these clips, which is what I'm going to do in this situation, just because I want it to be pretty while I'm working on it, and I want to have another layer to mess with. Let me briefly go over the interface in case you're new to CapCut on a desktop. Up here on the top left, we have media, so we can see all of the footage we imported. That would be, video, music, sound effects, all that stuff will appear here. We have audio, to add music, to add sound effects. We can add text with this. We can add stickers, which are just graphics with this. Hey, we could throw a deer in the forest with us. And when we position our playhead over, it's like, oh, look, there's a deer. But we don't want that guy. We got lots of effects, transitions, filters, adjustments, which reveals that custom adjustment. It's called an adjustment layer. And it doesn't look like much else is going on until you click on a clip, and then you have access to all of the other stuff over here in this information window. And then we have a bunch of templates, which we're not going to cover in this video, but there's a lot of cool ones. Check out my other videos on that. In this window, we can see what's happening in the timeline, or if we're over here, we can see what's happening with this footage here. It's the window to preview clips before they're in the timeline over here. Notice it says previewing, or when you're in the timeline, it's just the player to see what your edit looks like. This is our final edit, will appear down here in the timeline. We'll go over that in a second. Over here in the top right, we have our information window, and when you're not clicked on a clip, you just get some generic information about your sequence. When you click on a clip, you have all kinds of things that you can change. We'll go over these as we need them. And down here in the timeline, there's a bunch of cool stuff that we can do. When you're clicked on a clip, more options appear. Let's look at this bar right here so we can understand the timeline. Here we have the selection tool, the arrow. The keystroke for that is A. We use it to select a clip or to move a clip around. Underneath it, we have the split tool, which is used for cutting clips. If we want to, say, get rid of something there, we cut it up, then we hit delete. Next, we have the select leftward tool. So anything to the left of these arrows is selected if you want to move all of them. I don't use the left one at all, but I do use the select rightward tool all the time so I can take huge chunks of video at once and move them down the road as needed. This is undo, this is redo. This icon is to split a clip. When I find where I want to start a cut, I just hit bam, and it splits the clip. You can see it added a split right there. I'm going to undo that with Command Z, or I could use this here. And you'll notice that it shows the keystroke. It says Control B. That's on a Windows machine. I'm on a Mac, so it's Command B here. So I position my player where I want something to go, and I hit Command B, and boom, it splits it right there. Command B is what I use to split the clips because keystrokes are way faster. If you can learn the keystrokes, you're going to be golden. Here's an icon for deleting anything that you have selected. Bam, delete it. We'll cover the other icons as needed. Over here, some other icons we should really understand. This one turns off the magnetic properties of the timeline. Right now, if I move a clip over and let go, it just snaps back into place, which can be convenient for some things. Other times it's super annoying. When you want to make a space, you've got some space to work there, so you'll just turn that off. And now when I pull these clips over, they just stay where I want them. If I want them to snap back, I hit it again, bam. This next icon is snapping, and when it's on, when I grab a clip, it's going to automatically snap into position near the nearest edit. See how it's snapping into position here? That kind of reduces the amount of precision control you have, but does put it exactly at the beginning of a cut or the end of a cut. You'll turn that off and on depending on what you're doing. If I turn it off right now notice there's no snapping going on. I can just put it, within frames of there and nothing happens. So you get more control that way. One other timeline feature you should be aware of is called preview access. When you click this box right here, when I just move my mouse without even pressing any of the buttons on it, I can scrub the timeline and see what is underneath wherever I have my cursor. No matter where the physical playhead is, if my mouse is here and I hit the space bar, it's going to play from there. That's different than in traditional software like in Premiere. You actually have to physically grab the playhead and move it where you want it to go. So depending on your preference, you can leave that box checked or unchecked. Personally, I prefer the box unchecked. Bam. So when I go like this, nothing happens. I have to click and drag this and intentionally put the mouse where I want it. I've tried editing with this box checked in. For me, I prefer the old-fashioned way. Click and drag. Next, we want to actually edit the video, the most important part of editing, choosing the pieces of video we want to keep in the timeline. Now, because I shot this sequentially, put it in the timeline sequentially, it makes it much easier. So let's find the opening shot we want to use.
I bought this entire
And scroll around, and it looks like I said that again here, maybe.
I bought this entire forest.
That take looks good, so I'm just going to position my plate at the beginning of that. And I'm going to hit this icon here to make an edit. Click here, and then hit the delete key right here. And bam, now that's at the beginning of the clip. Because it's a magnetic timeline, it sucked it all to the beginning. That's when having a magnetic timeline is most usable.
I bought this entire forest.
When I'm done with that, I'm going to add another cut there using the keystroke, Command B on a Mac, Control B on a PC. And notice what it did, it put a cut there. You can see I'm doing a little costume change right here because MrBeast had a crowd of people. I didn't, so I'm going to have to create the crowd. I'll show you how to do that in a second too. Crowd of 2. What I'm going to do is put a couple of me right here in this section so it looks like I've got some people that I'm actually talking to and doing this contest with. When I filmed this, I thought this would be funny, but now I just kind of regret it looking at it. I'm going to show you an advanced editing feature that most people don't even know about, but it can really help you go faster. And that is using Q and W. With your playhead positioned where you want the cut to start, I want it to start here. I want to get rid of all of this from here to here. I want to get rid of it. I could hit this icon, cut it, click on it, hit delete, and it'll get sucked over. Or I could just type the letter Q. And it does all of that at once. I'm going to select enough of this clip to put it on top of this clip because it's going to be me with no shirt in the background with me in the foreground with that shirt. So I'll just choose as much of that as I want. I'm just going to hit Command B here. And I had one other costume change here. So let's choose a chunk of this clip. Now I want to get rid of all of this. What's the keystroke? Do you remember? It's Q. I hit Q and bam, it sucked it all the way over here. So I've got this clip and I've got this clip. We're just going to select enough of it to go over here, maybe a little extra so we can, trim it up after. And here's the other keystroke. Remember I said it's Q and W? Watch this. If I want to get rid of just this from here to here, this is the end of the clip. I will just type the letter W. Watch what happens. Boom. I'm going to undo it so you can see what happened again. It just added a cut here, and deleted this, and everything got sucked over. So I'm going to add the cut by hitting Command B and hit delete, or I can just type the letter W, and bam, see what it did? So now I've got clip 1, clip 2, clip 3, clip 4, and both of these are going to go on top because these guys are going to be the background of this guy. Now you can watch for 2 seconds as I trim up the rest of this entire video, choosing just the stuff that I need for the edit. Bam, the rough cut's done. Now let's go ahead and add some B-roll. B-roll is just video that is on top of the main video. So when you see me talking, that's the A-roll, the main video right here. B-roll would be something on top of that where you don't see me. To import some B-roll, we just go ahead and make sure we have media selected here in the top left. We click on import and we go to my footage. I keep it kind of organized, really organized footage, drone, and I've got a shot of my forest here. Now let's go ahead and choose the piece of this drone footage we want to use. You can just drag this left handle, find the beginning of what you want towards that tree, drag this right handle, go towards the end of what you want, and maybe right as we get close to the tree. And then I just hit this little plus icon down here. The scissors show you that, hey, we're about to cut this, we've trimmed it, that's a trimmed piece. Hit the plus sign, and instead of getting the entire clip that was 5 minutes long, we got a few seconds here to work with. Now I want this to be on top of the opening clip, so I'm just gonna click it and drag it up. And notice that because the magnetic timeline is still on, everything got sucked over. So let's zoom in by hitting Command scroll wheel. And let's find the piece we really want to use with a little more detail. Let's see, end it maybe right there. Now I could use all those other keystrokes I showed you, like Command B, Q, and W and all that. Or we could just click and drag the end here and choose what we want. And let's say we want to use, I don't know, about this much here. I'm going to place it into position just by clicking in the middle and dragging it. And because I have snapping on, remember we talked about snapping? This is when it comes in really handy. So right now, like it snaps into position. That line shows up. If snapping wasn't on, it would look like this. There's no snapping into position. I kind of got to guess and manually do it. But with snapping on, oh, it's easier. And bam. So this opening shot, we want it to be a drone shot.
I bought this entire forest.
Let me show you another advanced feature. I shot this in slow motion. You know, it's pretty for a slow moving video, but this is MrBeast stuff. It's got to go faster. So let's go ahead and increase the speed. I'm going to make that clip longer. Select it. Up here in the top right, I'm going to hit speed, and then I'm just going to double the speed. Bam. And now it's automatically doubled. So now let's have a look and see what it looks like.
I bought this entire forest.
Better? We could go even faster. How about triple? Let's triple the speed, see what happens. Let's go 3x right there. And then trim it back up, see how she looks.
I bought this entire forest.
Looks good, but guess what? MrBeast's footage was pulling out. It's an establishing shot, so it's pulling away. So what we're gonna do is click on that guy again, and right here we got this little icon. It's got a circle with a triangle in it. It says reverse, click on that. And now it's reversing the clip. Magical things you can do with a free app. Let's see how it looks.
I bought this entire forest.
MrBeast has a bunch of guys in his video, but I don't. You can see here it's just me. So I need to add some of me right here since I'll be my own competitors. To do that, we're just going to take these two clips, this one of me and this one of me, and put them on top of this one and just kind of cut me out of both of these. Here's how we're going to do it. We can just click and drag, put it on top. Click, drag, put it on top. Then I'm going to scroll in a little bit so I can make these the correct size. Bam and bam. Oh no, we can't see anything except me, this top layer. So I need to cut the forest out. Now there are a couple options for doing that. The first one that you might think of, you might have seen videos on this. If you click on the clip and you go over here to cutout, I can click on auto cutout and it will cut me out. Just wait a second, I can see it processing here while it's thinking about it. And it does it, but it doesn't look great. You can see this black outline around it, so it doesn't look good. It's not ideal for this particular situation. So we're going to undo that by hitting Command Z or hitting this button right here, which is the same as Command Z or undo. And we're going to use option B, which is actually better. Because this is a tripoded shot, we can use something called masking. I'm going to go over here and click on mask. I'm going to select a rectangle and position the rectangle over me like this. I'll adjust it so it's pretty even around me and where there's a little bit of room on both sides. And so it looks best, you want to add a little bit of a feather so it blends in case it's not exactly precise between this background clip and this is now in the foreground. I'm going to just hit feather and it'll smooth it out a bit. And then I just do exactly the same thing for the other clip, this clip of me over here. That's two of me, but we don't see me talking over here. So I click on this clip, I hit rectangle, position it right in between the two versions of me, add a little bit of feather. Let's go ahead and play it.
I have one challenge and two people. The last one to leave this forest gets to keep it.
Next, we want to mimic what Jimmy did in his video.
I have 10 challenges and we have 10 people. And the last one of you to leave this island keeps it.
There you just saw it went from a wide shot with Jimmy and the competitors here, and then to a close-up of Jimmy that panned over the competitors. So since we didn't have a camera crew and a bunch of guys, we have to fake that. Let's go in the middle of these here, right after I say
two people.
And then from here, we're going to push in on me and then pan over to me over there to those other two me's. To do that, right after I say this,
two people.
We're going to cut all three of these by highlighting them and splitting them. Next, we're going to merge all of these clips at once so I can zoom in on this whole section and then move the camera over to here. To do that, we're going to right click and choose Create Compound Clip. That'll merge these guys. It's called nesting in most other programs like Premiere. So bam, we have a compound clip. Now anything I do to one clip does to all three clips. In order to create the illusion of camera motion, I'm going to adjust the scale and the position over time by using keyframes. Positioned here at the beginning of the clip, I'm going to hit a keyframe for scale and a keyframe for position. Remember, a keyframe marks the beginning or the end of a change in a property. The properties we're going to change are position and scale. So I'm going to change the scale by dragging this slider, making it pretty big, and I'll put me in the middle just by dragging this clip around. Somewhere around there looks pretty good. Now I want to stay this size for, I don't know, about half of the duration of this clip before I start panning over. So I'm going to set another keyframe here for scale and position. Then I'm going to go to the end of the clip and slide over to these guys here. Oh, that's terrifying. And then maybe push in a little bit more like that. And if we watch it, it looks like this.
The last one to leave this forest gets to keep it.
So it worked, but it's kind of janky. It looks too stiff, too linear. To fix that, we can smooth out these keyframes. To smooth out the keyframes, we're going to right-click on the clip and choose Show Keyframe Animation. Here we can see all the keyframes for the different properties. We're going to first work on scale by clicking on scale, then clicking on this tiny little arrow here and revealing this graph. In order to smooth out one of these keyframes, you have to be actually on it and it has to be highlighted. If you can't click it, like over here because it's in the middle, I can click it and highlight it. This one is at the beginning of the clip. It's giving me grief. You're going to notice that. So the way you fix that is you hit this right arrow and then hit the back arrow. And see how this keyframe is blue and highlighted now? Now I can click on one of these graphs here. By default, it's linear. It's hard at dink dink. But if I go over here, this one says auto curve. It automatically smooths it out. And this one is a free curve that gives you a little more control. We're just going to go with auto curve by clicking on it. And notice that it gives you these handles so you can adjust this a little bit. You can play with these to see what they do. And we're just going to do that for all the keyframes to make them smooth. So I'll hit the right arrow, click on smooth, hit the right arrow, click on smooth, and I'll go ahead and do that for the rest. After you've adjusted all the keyframes, you can right-click again and hit Hide Keyframe Animation or hit Option K or Alt K on a PC. Let's see how it looks.
The last one to leave this forest gets to keep it.
That looked considerably better. Now for the next shot, all these guys cheering. We only have me and me, so let's go ahead and do the same thing here real quick. I'm just going to stack these guys on top of each other, zoom in a little bit. In this case, we only need to crop out this side of the screen to reveal the other me underneath. To do that, we just right-click, you hit Mask, you hit Rectangle, position it properly, add a little bit of feather so it blends these two because they're not identical as they were shot, a few seconds apart and the light kept changing. And now it looks like this. That's great, except Jimmy's shot was a little bit tighter, so to tighten this, we could scale each one of these individually, or to scale them together, remember what you do? You right-click, and you choose Create Compound Clip, and then we can scale both of these together. And then position them, And now it looks like this.
Keep it.
For our video, I filmed this in order and I put the clips in order in the timeline. But what if you need to move clips around? You didn't shoot in order, which in real life, you're not always going to shoot in order. How do you move a clip around? You simply click on it, drag it up, and drop it down in between the clips you want to put it between and let go, and bam, it's in order. Because we have the magnetic timeline on, it shuffled the clips around and sucked up all the extra space. But you may not always want to do that. Let's undo that and go ahead and turn off the magnetic timeline. With the magnetic timeline off, if I try to move a clip like that, it just plops it on top, even though I drop it down here. So what should we do? We can just make a space for it. Remember the select forward tool? Click over here on the tools, choose select rightward. With these double arrows, anything to the right of these arrows, whether I'm on the tracks or above the tracks or below the tracks, it highlights them and I can move them over, make a space, and put a clip here if I wanted to. And I could manually drag these guys back because snapping's on. I could use that arrow tool again and move everything all at once like that. Or I could just turn the magnetic timeline back on and bam, it would put those in place. I'll finish merging the rest of the clips the way we did with this one, and then we'll get into effects. Now CapCut has a ton of really fun effects built in, and effects can enhance or they can cheesify a video. We're just going to enhance this video without going too cheesy, but just to give you a feel of what you can do, you just click it and drag it onto the clip you want to use it on, and bam. We got a cool effect, not appropriate for this, but could be cool for something else. We're going to use something just to enhance something very simply to replace the fact that we didn't have a cameraman moving around and a bunch of people. What are we going to do? We're just going to add a little bit of camera shake. So here we've created a little bit of motion, but we can add a little bit of camera shake to make that a little more realistic. So we're going up here, I'm going to type shake. And we've got this one that says camera shake. Just going to put it here, drag it onto the clip. You can also apply an effect to multiple clips at once by clicking and dragging on it and just resizing it so it goes over more than one clip. But we just want it on this one clip here, so we're going to delete that and apply it like this. And let's see what it does to make it look a little more like somebody's holding the camera.
The last one to leave this forest gets to keep it.
Okay, that's pretty obnoxious. So we're going to modify a little bit so it's not quite so obnoxious. We're going to lower the range, lower the speed, and see if it's actually usable.
The last one to leave this forest gets to keep it.
Yeah, what we really need now is music because it feels empty without the music. So let's go up here to audio. Let's type in epic cinematic and see what looks good. That one sounds pretty good. To use it, we just position our plate at the beginning and we hit this plus sign and it adds it to everything, as you can see. But we're just going to test it here in the beginning. Zoom in a little bit. Command, scroll wheel.
I bought this entire forest. I have one challenge.
So I actually like it, but it's too loud. We can click on this line and lower the volume like that. And as we do that, we can see the waveforms lowering. We can undo that and also just click up here under basic volume and lower it, and it lowers it for everything. We can also set keyframes so it raises and lowers over time, but let's just test it around here and let's try this.
I bought this entire forest. I have one challenge and 2 people. The last one to leave this forest gets to keep it.
So here the music isn't driving, it's more background music, so that's probably good levels right there. Right when it's time to run, we're going to change the music. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to hit this split key and hit delete, and then we're going to add some new music here. The music included with CapCut is good on TikTok, but you may get a copyright claim or copyright strike on YouTube and might have issues on Instagram. What I use is Epidemic Sound, a paid subscription. It's super cheap and I have access to gazillions of songs that I can use on YouTube without having to worry about copyright. Let's go ahead and import one of my Epidemic soundtracks. I'm going to click on import. I'm going to go to music, license music, and I'll type in Sea Adventures. Here's a song that is great. We can hit play. Sound like something you know, but this is the knockoff version. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit the plus sign here, and it's gonna add it to the rest of my cut. And let's see how that works.
Go.
All that's left to do is to add some text, some MrBeast style captions. To do that, there's a couple of ways. We're just going to go over basic text functionality right now. We click on text up here. We click on this plus sign for default text. We double click in here and we type what we want to say. Highlight all of it, scale it down. We can position it where we want it to go up here, and it kind of disappears. Some text features you should know. They've got some presets built in like this. Some of them are pretty cool. You can check them out. You can adjust where the text goes with this. You can change the opacity so it blends into the background. You can add a stroke, adjust the thickness of the stroke. This preset had a stroke and we're just adjusting the thickness of it. And we can change a bunch of other things, but let's just make it look like MrBeast text. To do that, we choose a font and we want to use Comica Access, which is the one that MrBeast uses. So we're going to scroll down to Comica Access, and we don't want to use this preset. We're going to just click on this delete here and go back to see the font. And without that preset, you can see how it's white on white. We can't see it very well. So what we're going to do is just scroll down to stroke, add a black stroke, and it looks kind of great about there. We probably want to make it a little bit smaller like this. Maybe position a little bit higher so it kind of matches what MrBeast did. I made a couple more minor tweaks, including adding another adjustment layer. Remember, you just hit custom adjustment, put it over everything, and then I just bumped up the saturation right here so that there was a little more pop to it. I shot this on a flat, rainy day, so I want to make it brighter. All that's left is to export this MrBeast knockoff masterpiece by clicking export up here. I shot this in 4K, going with a high bit rate, and format.mov is fine. And the frame rate I filmed this in was at 24 frames a second, so I'm going to leave it at 24 frames a second. I'm going to give it a name, MrBeast Forest, and we're going to choose where it goes by clicking this folder icon. Just going to go into finished. It's the finished masterpiece in here. Then I'm going to click export. Now I'm going to show you MrBeast's version, followed by my version. Let me know in the comments how you think I did.
I bought this entire island. I have 10 challenges and we have 10 people. And the last one of you to leave this island keeps it. So let's just jump right into the first challenge. Last one to put a coconut in this hole leaves. Bye. Go. I'm getting out of the hole. All right, you two, you go with the short. All right, you guys are good. Oh, buddy.
Oh, you're very sweaty.
My whole family is going to be so disappointed in me.
I bought this entire forest. I have one challenge and 2 people. The last one to leave this forest gets to keep it. So let's just jump right into the first challenge.
Already?
Last one to put a pine cone in this bucket leaves. Bye. Go. My whole family's gonna be so disappointed in me. If you really want to become a MrBeast level editor, you need to watch these 5 things MrBeast does in every single one of his videos.